welcome everyone to the ScaleUp Club for October. So the theme is around understanding our differences, and all will become clear in a moment or two. But what I thought we'd do, just to give one or two people the chance still who haven't arrived yet, and I can see we've got one or two people in the waiting room. So what we'll do is we'll go around the room and we'll just say, introduce ourselves if we could, who we are, who we work for, what we do, nice and briefly. And if we could share one piece of good news, something good that's happened to us recently that we'd like to share, and we'll do that. So something a little bit different from how we normally start. That'll give a flavor as to who's in the room and what's going on. And by all means, please do use the chat facility to pick up with anybody that you want to, or ask any questions, or however you'd like to do that. So I think Matt Busby, if we could start with you, please. If you could introduce yourself and share a piece of good news.
Sure. Matt Busby from the Name Label Company, and our bit of good news is we purchased a new piece of hardware.
Oh, fantastic. That does something to do with printing name labels, presumably.
Yeah, absolutely. We've gone really big, wide format now. So yeah, it's a big step up.
Fantastic. Excellent. Good stuff, Matt. Thank you. Brett, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Brett Griffiths. I'm the Director of Lean Transition Solutions. We develop software for companies, do lean training, and we are, as I said earlier to the other colleagues, we're just about to launch a mental health app globally, which is going to revolutionize the way that people look at mental health. Bit of good news is that the app is ready. We spent 12 months on it. We had 20 developers working on it for the last 12 months, which has cost us a bloody fortune. But it's ready. It's with Apple at the moment. We're going to get it approved either today or tomorrow to then launch with university students.
Sounds fantastic. Great stuff. Thank you, Brett. Very good. Helen, what about you? Helen Bauer.
I'm going to start with, Helen Bauer, Director of Adult Bookkeeping. We're a professional bookkeeping practice. I'm going to start with a lot of bad things that happened to me this week, and then tell you something good. So within the space of last Wednesday to yesterday, we had my husband's car was written off, but he's okay. My whole office flooded and put us out of action in the middle of payroll. And in the middle of all that, my institute decided to do a spot check money laundering audit on us yesterday. The good news is we passed the audit, we're drying out, we've survived, and I'm still smiling.
Fantastic. There you are. So then we got a really good picture of your week. Thank you, Helen. Well done. Great that you're here. Amazing that you're here, actually, with all of that going on. So great stuff. Good. Stephen Bradstock, welcome. Oh, you've just put yourself on mute, Steve.
Morning, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, good. So would you like to introduce yourself to the group and a good thing that's happened to you recently?
Good thing that's happened. Okay, so I'm Steve Bradstock, First Base Solutions. We help people with their IT within SMEs. Good thing that's happened to us recently, we've just got an application through for a proof of concept grant that will enable us to use drones to recognize pests and disease in crops.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. Very good. Right, Stu Avis. You're on mute as well. Come on.
Yes, I know. Rookie error. Sorry. It's good to put myself on mute. I hadn't. Anyway. Excuse me. So I'm Stu. I run a company called Audacious Creative. We help organisations unearth, define, and communicate what makes them special and unique by looking at their why, their core purpose, their values, and the culture they want to create in their business. And my bit of good news is actually I got a really good night's sleep last night for the first time in a couple of weeks. So that was actually, for me, really good.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you must have stole my sleep then. All right, Lizzie, sorry. Dr. Lizzie.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, and I'm a confidence coach. I help leaders stand tall and own who they are. And the good thing that's happened, I've just come back from holiday, first holiday, proper holiday since 2018. So I'm feeling invigorated. And the good thing work-wise is this weekend, I'm speaking at the Professional Speakers Association, their global event. So that's exciting.
Brilliant. Sounds great. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Lizzie. Peter Roper.
So Peter Roper, two things I'm excited about, actually. One was I put petrol in the car, yippee, and I went swimming this morning. Double result. And secondly, I'll also be at the PSA conference. I'll enjoy watching you, Lizzie. There you go.
Oh, now she's nervous. Now she's nervous.
Can't run and you can't hide.
All right, fantastic. John Priest, great to see you here.
Morning, everyone. So I'm a newbie. So I'm CEO of ChromaTwist. ChromaTwist is a spin out from the University of Birmingham based on some of my research. So I'm an academic, 20% of my time now, but 80% CEO of ChromaTwist. ChromaTwist makes dyes to be used in the healthcare tech industry. So we're developing the materials at the moment. So we're not selling anything. We're in the development phase. And the good news is that the industrial partner that we're working with, after just 3 times using their machines in the UK, showing the utility of the materials, they now want us to send our materials directly for them for testing. So thank you.
Fantastic. Good. And a really interesting business. So yeah, a bit hard to get your head around, but a really interesting business, John. So I'm sure the others will really be interested to hear more about that in the breakouts. Miguel, welcome.
Hi. The good news and introduction is that I have the best job in the world. My name is Miguel, and I manage Tutor to Worcester. Let me use this opportunity. I'm looking for tutors in the STEM subjects and in primary, in face-to-face tuition. So if you know anyone, let me know. Cheers.
All right, good. So if you fancy doing a bit of tutoring, then reach out to Miguel in the chat or something. All right, good. John Heseltine.
Morning, everyone. John Heseltine from OCS Consulting. I work with businesses to put people at the heart of change using a bespoke program that I've developed and branded it as Journey. And at the same time as putting people at the heart of change, it still helps businesses to adapt and thrive, which is obviously their focus. My good news is Birmingham University have restarted negotiations on developing Journey using AI. Which is one of my aims, because they run out of money in 2019 and 2020, but they've now got new funding. So my first meeting is next week. So looking forward to that one.
Excellent. Great stuff. Another bit of good news. Very good. Claire Hill.
Good morning, Claire Hill HR. We support small businesses with their HR and people issues. Good news, we turned 6 last week. So we're still here, still going.
Yeah, well done.
And we're still growing as well. So that's the other good news. So thank you.
Brilliant. Well done. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Helen. Yep, Helen Groves. Yep. On mute. Yeah.
There we go. Right. So Helen Groves. I own a food safety consultancy called Food Safety Logic, and I help businesses to follow the rules and stay legal using my environmental health background. The good news I had was that I went to the Festival of Business last week in Worcestershire, and I met a really great lady who's going to help me with my marketing and hopefully, take my business to the next level. So I'm really pleased to have met her.
Very good. Peter Jones.
Yeah, hi Kevin. Okay, I feel as though I've been vindicated. My good news is that I have 8% of UIP from one of my websites inquiries, and that's normally only 1%. So I've been at it for 20 years, and suddenly the ideas are beginning to take them off. I'm sorry, I'm nationwide CAD trainer. I do CAD training either remotely or on people's premises.
Very good, thank you. I don't know quite what's going on, Peter, but there's a buzz in your background when you...
I was trying to get rid of that just now. I'll try and... Yeah, thanks. I'll have a go.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Peter. Ian Burnett.
Morning, everybody. I'm Ian Burnett. My business is It's Easy Website Design. Brilliant websites for small and medium businesses. Best news I've had for recently is I've picked up my largest ever customer, which is an electrical contractor, which has on its books about 140 electrical contractors. So they're pretty big at what they do. They're based in the Droitwich Bromsgrove area. We're looking forward to building a fab website for them.
Yeah. And maybe 140 websites.
You never know, they're all little babies later.
Yeah, all right, brilliant. Good, fantastic. Sue Corbin.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with my Nibrock hat on today, Nibrock Engineering. We innovate and design devices for sports and medical use. And our good news is that a prototype that we're trying to build at the moment, but it's quite difficult because you can't find the technology in Britain, and so we're having to source it to America, and they finally managed to get some printed circuit boards from China because there's a worldwide shortage of them apparently. Anyway, so that's the good news. So we might actually have a prototype in our hands in the next fortnight.
Fantastic, very good. All right, I think I've been round everybody. Have I missed anybody apart from our team? So I think Jack, would you like to say hi?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Jack. I'm doing marketing bits for BizSmart. I've been here for about nearly 4 months now, so I'm very happy to still be meeting everybody. And I think most of you have met at one of these before, but still seeing some new faces, which is great.
Brilliant.
I don't know if I can speak on the businesses previous, Kevin, if you want to say on anything good that's happened at Bismarck, but
what's good that's happened to you then?
Happened to me personally?
Yeah, something you want to share.
Oh God, put me on the spot. What's happened? Not too much. I can't think of anything at the moment.
Go
There
on,
are always
Jack.
great things going on though, but
All right, good.
I need to think of.
Nearly rescued it. Good. Caroline, how about you?
I was thinking, Jack, your good news is that Mel and I took you out for a drink on Friday night. That's got to be your good news.
Oh yeah, no, that was great. Yeah,
my good news is we had our very own Smart 90 quarterly planning session yesterday, and that went really well. And we've got some really exciting plans for the next quarter to look forward to.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, brilliant. Well, that's great. Great going around the room there, and a really interesting mix of businesses and people. So, please do make the use of the time here to touch base, make contact with people, and say through the chat. What we will do as we go through the session is we'll go into breakouts, and then you'll be with probably five other people and get to know them a little bit better. But do try and make contact with the others as well if that's what you'd like to do, and share any details that you'd like within the chat, and we can always circulate that afterwards. So I'm going to share my screen now and just go through a couple of things to let you know what we've got in store. So essentially what we'll do for the first 40 minutes ish is we'll talk about the theme, and we've also then got a couple of supporting presentations from a couple of great select members, some select insights. So from Helen Bauer from Out of Bookkeeping, and from Stu Avis of Audacious Creative, who you've already heard a little bit from as we went around the room. And then we'll go into those breakout sessions, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment, and we'll return for some wrap up, some closing remarks for the last 15 minutes or so. So we'll due to finish the meeting by 11 o'clock, and that is what we have in store. Usual online etiquette, all about. So I know most of you've already gone on mute and all of that good thing. Do use the chat room. Do remember the Chatham House rules. When we get into the conversation, certainly this is going to be a bit more about understanding each other this time around, but please do treat those conversations as confidential. Remember, do think about challenging, but also be prepared to be challenged. So part of what this is about is to challenge each other's thinking and improve our thinking. So don't just listen, do give some constructive challenges, but also be prepared for that to happen to you as well, and be always on the lookout for takeaways, things that you can take back to your business, actions that you can put in place. And please do try and remember, this isn't a selling forum. The idea is not that we come into this forum and that we sell hard in those breakout sessions. It's much more around trying to help each other, look for opportunities to collaborate, to work together, to help each other. That's what we're trying to do. And later on, if you do have to leave a breakout room a bit early, then please do pop back to the main room, the main area. Caroline will be here, and she can make sure then that we keep the rooms balanced. So we've done the good thing. what's it all about for those of you that haven't been here before? So I know there's a number that have, but a few new people. So ScaleUp Club is all around meeting, sharing, collaborating, and learning. So it's around meeting some new people, sharing some ideas and experiences, looking for opportunities to collaborate. And we do also bring in something each month, a theme where we try and get a little bit of learning, a little bit of a different way of looking at things around these 4 pillars of scaling up. We're all about helping everybody to scale up, to create more scale ups. And we know that strategy, people, execution, and cash are the 4 primary pillars for doing that. And we look for something within each one each time. And we also, and part of the reason for that is we know that only about 4% of businesses in this country manage to scale beyond 10 employees. So we're about trying to help business owners that want to do that to try and break through that barrier, but also the next one, which is beyond 50 employees, where only less than 1% of businesses end up with more than 50 employees in this country. Last month's theme was around punching above our weight in recruitment. So we explored a couple of topics around that. We also had a great presentation from David Lyons from Unique IQ, who shared some of his experiences. And we talked about punching above our weight. We talked about the need to think and act differently from everybody else and to make the job appealing. I know that sounds obvious, but things have definitely moved. We've all heard the stats about how many job vacancies that there are versus the candidates that are around. It's harder and harder now for us as leaders of small and medium-sized businesses to recruit great people. And we also talked about that idea of always be recruiting. This time around, it's around understanding our differences, and that's what the theme is. So why is that important? Well, all sorts of reasons. But you may have heard this quote from Peter Drucker that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And essentially, we know that we won't get far without a team, that our team can be our greatest asset if they're performing really well, but equally, they can also be our biggest headache. So the idea around what Peter's saying here essentially is that a good set of people, if you get that good set of people and you get the culture right within the business, then they will rescue what is even a bad strategy. Whereas if you've got a not very good group of people, even if you've got a great strategy, then the chances are that you're going to have trouble executing on it. And people behave differently. They behave differently generally. They behave differently in different situations. Some people need a challenging environment. That's what they thrive in. Other people focus and need more on harmony. Others are very much about needing to be liked. Some really love to be constrained by rules. Others completely the opposite. And some really need to feel supported, where others are quite good out on their own, acting independently. And of course, it's important that we understand those differences from ourselves, from our own point of view, but also that the members of our team understand those differences so that they can really start to work together cohesively. A little bit of a busy slide, but it just sums up some of the findings from our Scale Up Challenge research that we carried out recently. And if you look at the 4 boxes, which are by turnover band, as we grow, as the turnover gets a little bit bigger within businesses, then you can see how the people issues come to the fore of these. So if we look down the 1 to 3 million, getting staff to think and act for themselves and take responsibility in the way that you would, comes to the top, as it does in the 3 to 5 million turnover levels. And it's also very high, high in the 500,000 to 1 million turnover level as well. So intuitively, we know that as we get more people, we're obviously going to have more people challenges, but equally that idea of getting our teams to think and act for themselves and take responsibility in the way that we would like them to becomes a real challenge. And we know also that there's a disconnect between that and some of the measurements and things businesses put in place, in terms of we don't, as a rule, focus on the kind of metrics and the kind of activities that will help the teams to gel and act cohesively. Just going to put this model up, which is the Patrick Lencioni's 5 behaviors of a cohesive team model, but the one to focus on is at the bottom. It's the foundation one of everything in teams, and whatever team model you look at, that idea of psychological safety or vulnerable trust is at the bottom. And of course, one of the best ways of starting to get trust within a team is when we understand each other and we know our differences and we know where we bring the value to each other. And so if you've got any concerns about the cohesiveness of your team, then that's the place to go back and look and just think, actually, do we have that level of trust? And it's not, when it says trust, by the way, it's not just, do I trust somebody to be honest or something like that? That, of course, is part of it. But it's, do I have enough trust in the rest of my colleagues that I can share when I've made a mistake or when I need help? And in order to, then that's why it's called that vulnerability trust or psychological safety. And if we don't have that, as I say, then it's very hard then to build any of the other layers on top. So we use DISC. That's the sort of thing that we use within our businesses and with the clients that we work with. There's lots of other different types. They all sort of go back to Jung, I think, pretty much at the end. But I'll just take you through this a little bit. That there are no good or bad styles. There's no best style. There's just different. All the styles have some strengths and they also have limitations. And some styles can be more or less effective. All styles can be more or less effective depending on the environment. And also, we're all a blend of all styles. So if you do any of these exercises, you'll end up with a dot somewhere on a circle or something like that. But that's just the sum of all of the complexities of the different elements that make us up. We're all a blend of all of these styles. I've used the DISC here just to explain a little bit, but the birds that we've got here are the way that we look at them. Our overall branding is around eagles, BizSmart, and helping business owners to soar. And the birds that kind of characterize the different styles quite nicely are the peregrine falcon, or the hawk, if you prefer, for the Ds. The focused hunting. That's very task focused, lock on, get things done sort of type characteristic. We use the cockatoo for the eyes, and that's more around then that's more about let's all achieve this together. Let's I want to and I'm going to lead you and follow me, make it so sort of type stuff. The dove we use at the bottom right there for the S, for the more steady characteristics. They're very much about getting things done as a team, so getting along. That's what their priorities are around. And the owls are around getting things right. They're the ones that want all the detail and the analysis and things like that. So just very, very quick overview about that. But understanding those sort of characteristics and having a think about where you might be and where your team members might be will help. And I'll just start that process a little bit now. So if we use the standard sort of disc model and the colors that go with it. And I want you to think about, some of you have done this exercise and you'll know already. If you've done it with us, you will know where you are on this. Those of you that haven't, this will help you to get there. Quick and dirty, this will be, it won't necessarily be particularly accurate, but it'll give you a flavor, and it'll also help you to think about your team and imagine where they might be. Because the way DISC works is essentially you've got to pull to the top or the bottom. So are you, or the person you're thinking about, are they fast-paced? Do they talk quickly? Are they dynamic? Are they bold? They almost do before they think. Do they shoot and then aim? Is it that kind of person, or are they much more calm and methodical, or are you much more calm and methodical and you want to think about things a bit more carefully? Are you a bit more moderate in the way that you speak? You might speak a bit more quietly, a bit more calm, less excitable, that kind of thing. So that's the first pull. So would you say you're more at the top half or the bottom half? That's the first question. Then the second question is, are you now more logic focused? So is that what drives you? And you like to think about the logic of things, problem solving? Are you very objective? Or are you primarily around the people side of things? So are you very much around empathizing with people, and you've probably got a wide group of social friends as well, typically, if you're in that area. So you should all be thinking now, yeah, I'm top and to the left, or I'm bottom and to the right, or whatever you are. But you also ought to be able to think a little bit about where some of your team might be, and this will help you a little bit later on as I go through some of the detail. But what you should be able to do now is think about: are you a peregrine falcon? Are you a cockatoo? Are you a dove, or are you an owl? Essentially, if you prefer the animal kingdom rather than the bird kingdom, then the top left up here might be a panther. panther sort of style. The top right might be more of a monkey, a chimpanzee sort of type person. The dove might be more of a dolphin. And the owl is probably still the best representation, even if we're including animals within that for the wise owl sort of type characteristic. So you ought to be able to now have a feeling as to where you are. I'm going to break it there so that we can hear from a couple of our select members, but I'm going to come back to this before we go into the breakouts with some details of the different characteristics and some of the strengths and the fears and the motivations, so that you've got a little bit more of an understanding before we then talk about those in our groups. But you should now have a flavour as to where you might be in terms of DISC, if you didn't already beforehand, and you also ought to be able to think about what kind of bird you are. So what I'm going to do now is open the floor to hand over the baton to Helen initially. Helen is one of our select members, as is Stu, and Helen's built her own really great culture, her unique culture, I think, probably within ADA. And I'd love Helen to be able to share with us all some of the things that her views really on the importance of team and culture and understanding each other. So Helen, over to you. I'll stop.
Right, everybody, I am definitely a monkey. Weirdly, I'm a monkey with owl skills. That's the way Mel describes me, because I'm very logical and methodical. Those of you who don't know me, ADA Bookkeeping, I've been a bookkeeper for 16 years, but 4 years ago I decided to expand and take on premises, and I've gone from just me to 7 staff in 4 years. We're just relocating to our 3rd premises, and I've increased my turnover by a multiple of 10. So we've had very fast growth, and I've had to learn about being a manager and a leader of people, which I really, really enjoy. So I'm going to pick out some of the highlights of ADA Bookkeeping. And I can quite say this without being it sounds like I'm being not very modest, but my staff are so happy. The morale is fantastic. They keep putting me in for Employer of the Year at the National Bookkeeping Awards. I'm up for it again this year. So how have I done that? Well, I'm naturally, as I said, a monkey. So I'm very empathising and very warm and very people focused, which helps. But I have actually carried out this DISC profile on all my staff. We use the animal one, but we've got 2 monkeys, 2 dolphins and 3 owls, so we haven't got any panthers. And we use that to we discussed it all after we did it, and it's created a whole bit of humour in the office, because the monkeys, which is me and my mini-me, Rachel, who are very excitable and loud and fast-paced, the dolphins are all saying, for goodness sake, calm down. My special dolphin, Lisa, we call her the rock and we call her the handbrake, because I go off on one and then I go, right, Lisa, you need to calm me down and make me think about this quietly. So we use all that. Penny, who's an owl and is quite reserved, will go, will you monkeys just be quiet a moment? So we use this whole animal thing quite a lot. So that's important to me. I'm going to come back to that in a minute with something that I learned when we got flooded last week about members of my staff. So one of the main things that I do, which not all leaders do, is I completely involve my team in everything that's going on in the business. So we have a quarterly, they know exactly what my turnover and profit is. They know what I'm aiming it to be. They see all the measurements of new clients that we've had. We discuss it all. We have a quarterly meeting where we set projects. Anybody can come up with the idea of a project. We look at them all and we allocate them to different people, and then they're given ownership of those projects. So I'm not running them all. And then once a month, they can report back to me on how they're getting on those projects. So we do like to give people ownership. We got a new starter in September, Tom. That's created a whole lot of humour on its own, because we're all over 40 and Tom's 26. So we have a lot of humour about things that, we all started going last week. Oh, I no. Anyone that's over 50 is like, what are you doing? I'm like, Faulty Towers. So we've got a whole lot of humour based around the difference in our ages, actually. Sorry, I digress. So something that happened last week, which I actually thought was a good example, when we had this flood, we had no electric for a whole day and we couldn't do anything. So we told our clients that we were completely offline for a day. And I decided to turn that into an opportunity to have a big 6-hour staff brainstorm on our sales and onboarding processes. I recently read a book, which I love, which gave me a ton of ideas, and they're all floating around in my head. So we actually mapped out all my ideas and had a good discussion about how they would fit with us. Everybody contributed. I changed some things I'd thought about when I listened to other people's opinions, and we allocated all little bits of the project to different members. So Tom, the new guy, is going to plan it all out on a flow chart. Somebody else is going to make the script for our new discovery calls. So they share everything, and that involvement makes they know where I'm at and where I'm going and what I want to be. 2 of my staff have already said they want to buy business off me when I retire in about, say, 7-8 years' time. That leads me on to this sales and onboarding process. So we've decided there'll be a 10-15 minute discovery call, which will be scripted, and that will lead on to a full proposal meeting. And Lisa, who's my very quiet dolphin, very softly spoken and reserved, said she would be up for doing that, and I was really quite surprised. I knew that Rachel the monkey would, and I knew that my new guy Tom would, but Lisa said no. It's taken me out of my comfort zone, but I want to have a go at it. So I want to do a couple with you, and I want to learn from it. So I'm going to empower her to do that. One of the things about empowering people to do other things is I keep my eye on my big hairy goal, as Mel calls it. So my big hairy goal is to have a saleable business, and to do that, it mustn't be reliant on me. So I mustn't be the bottleneck. At the moment, we've been so busy the last few months that I've created my own bottleneck because I'm the only one dealing with new clients. So out of this huge meeting when we got flooded last week, we've decided who, and it was all of them, believe it or not, other than one who was on holiday, who I know wouldn't do it because she's very shy. And we've decided that they'll all be empowered to all start having a go at these things, so there's no longer a bottleneck, and I'm not the only one that can do it. So I'm all about, sorry, Kev, have I gone on too long?
That's about the 5 minutes, but that's brilliant.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just going to say one other thing. I wanted to thank somebody who told me to read the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey last time. They might not be here. We've used that a lot as well. So I could go on for hours, but yeah, hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight.
Yeah, really good insight. Thank you, Helen. So yeah, so good insights as to how Helen's using DISC, how they're actually using it as a kind of almost a language now. You know, it helps them when they want to have a bit of a dig at somebody or just deflect what could be a conflict, because you can just refer back to the animals or whatever style that might be. And great that you've overcome some adversity with some good stuff. You overcame the flooding, and you've made some good out of that, which is brilliant. So Stu, I'd like to introduce Stu, who's another great Select member, and Stu does a lot of work on culture within businesses, helping them to understand culture and also to help to get it to be what the owner would like that culture to be. So Stu, 5 minutes from you, if we could, please.
Right. Okay, so thank you very much, Kevin. So this is a 5-minute condensation of a 3-hour workshop. So there will be a handout at the end that will drop into chat. And I know that Caroline will email it out as well in case you don't get it. So I just want to have a really quick look at kind of asking the question, what culture are you building? And every business has a culture, whether you're a solopreneur or you're a huge business. every business has a culture. And we use three analogies when we're working with our clients. The first is about the rowing team, about the Olympic rowing team. In order to even have a chance of getting to the goal, to winning the gold medal, everyone in that team, the staff team, the support team, the trainers, the rowers, everyone else they have to align to a core purpose and to pull together. So actually, we're going for the goal. This is our sole focus. This is kind of what we're doing. And very similar, when John F. Kennedy was walking around NASA, when he could have done that kind of, we will go to the moon speech, he was speaking to a floor sweeper, and he asked him what he did, and his reply was this: I'm helping put a man on the moon. Fantastic example of actually how someone in a very lowly position believed actually what he did was making a difference to the core purpose, the core journey of kind of what NASA was all about at that time. And that's all about the culture that comes in an organization. So let's have a really quick look at what business culture is. Here are four very quick definitions. I like this because it actually talks about actually being seen from the outside in. This one is great. It's nice and simple. The way things get done around here, really nice and simple. Linda Smith, who's a really great author on anything to do with culture, says it's that culture drives organizations. And that is so true. They're often the engine room of any business. And actually, I define it as your core values. Anyone who knows me knows that actually core values are really kind of close to kind of what we do here at Audacious Creative. And I believe that actually its core values drive culture, and culture drives organization. So how can you build an authentic culture? Four things that you can do. The first is to assess what culture already exists in your organization. Have you defined your values? Are they driving your culture? And if so, how? And actually, what kind of culture do you want to create? Is the culture you've got in business at the moment the one that you want to create? Or actually, is there some disconnect between you and your team if you have one? So once you've done your assessment, you then need to decide how will you embed your values so they drive your culture, which therefore drives your business. So here are some questions that we challenge some of our clients to ask. Well, what does life around here feel like? What do you want it to feel like? How am I as a leader leading by example? And Helen's given us some fantastic examples of actually how she's doing that. Actually, what obstacles and challenges might we face that actually are derailing our culture? That might be about people that come in, they're good at what they do, but they don't fit in, and they kind of stir up people the wrong way. And actually, I like the question I've highlighted here. Actually, when we look back in a year's time, what change do you want to have seen? How will life feel like then, as opposed to what life feels like now? And then the third step is to implement. So you assess, you decide, you create a plan, and then you implement it. How can you put your plans into action and make them a reality? And Helen's just given us some great examples of that. It's about empowering people, investing in them, trusting them, training them and releasing them, and then watching them soar. And I think Helen, as I said, has given us some great examples of how ownership, how she's got a whole team to own, not just kind of their bit of what they do, but actually the entire journey of the organization. That is all underpinned with communication. That is absolutely critical to keeping people on board and to make sure that you're all going in the right direction. And the final analogy that we tend to use is a great quote from Rudyard Kipling. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And actually, we are not isolated. If there is a team of us, and even if you're on your own as a solopreneur, actually you will have people that help you run your business, whether accountants, they're kind of other business professionals, they're suppliers, they're friends of the business. You are not kind of isolated, and it's that reliance on the team that you pull around you, and you all contribute. And without one person, that team is weaker. So I'm going to drop this into chat in a second. It's just a basic summary of kind of what we looked at. And if you need any more help on this, then do give us a call. Thank you.
Fantastic, Stu. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, I encourage you to have a chat with Stu if any of that resonated for you. And perfectly on time as well, Stu. So thank you very much. Thanks for your preparation there, and thank you, Helen, as well. That was really good. So what I'd like to do, just so there's lots of good lessons, I think, there, and just a little bit of extra context around the idea of understanding our teams at the heart of any culture. Is that vulnerable trust, that we trust each other enough to share the real things that are important to us, and good and not so good, and therefore that understanding of each other is really key. Now, I'm just going to add a couple of details to the idea. Ian Stew's put that handout in the chat as well, so that's there if you want to download that. Brilliant. I'm just going to give a couple more details on some slides around the strengths and challenges of the different styles. It'll be a bit much probably for you to all note and take down, but what we'll do is we'll share those afterwards. So that will be there. But if I just share my screen again now, and you can see these. So if we go back to the D type, to the dominance, or the hawk or the falcon, peregrine falcon that we got there, then they tend to be, as we've heard already, pretty daring, adventurous, decisive kind of people, quite direct. They can be very blunt as well, actually, but they can be this, and they are the problem solvers. So all good stuff there. The value to the team is that they're a great bottom line organizer. They're very much challenge oriented, can be innovative, and they get things done. They start things off, they initiate things, they get things done. And they love, in terms of the ideal environment, freedom from over control. They love an innovative environment. They love change, in other words, and they like challenge and opportunity. Okay. They can, under stress though, be rather over demanding. So if this is any of you, you might come across as being aggressive at times. Just get it done, will you? I just want it done. That sort of type stuff, maybe with a bit more colourful language in there. Possible limitations can set standards too high, take on too much, too fast, too soon. You do have to be a bit wary sometimes. If you've got Ds working for you, they may expect more of themselves in a way than they can actually deliver. And they can be a bit angry, if especially under stress. So that's the overriding emotion. So they can be cross, or come across as being cross. So if things are not working out as they should do, and an employee comes to them, then they may well be a bit abrupt and come across as a bit cross. So some good, as I say, we've all got things that, with each style, things that are great, but equally, if we overplay that style, that can come across as being a bit too much. But the overriding thing about these, or the Panthers, as Helen was referring to them, is getting things done. That's their primary motivation, is to get things done. If we look at the eyes, or the monkeys, as Helen was talking about them, then these are the charming, confident, really enthusiastic, inspiring type people. They're very optimistic, sometimes maybe too optimistic, as you might hear in a minute, but all great. And the value to the team is that optimism and enthusiasm. They can make great salespeople, but they're not necessarily the best at following things through. They're a great team player, great motivators. They love lots of people contacts. These are the ones that love to be out networking. They love to be meeting new people. They've got a big circle of friends. You can probably see on their walls, they've probably also got people, they might name drop, they might have framed pictures of them with the Queen, or some celebrity, or something like that. All of that good. So Helen's laughing away there, but so freedom of movement, love all of those good things. Under stress though, possibly can be a bit self-promoting. Think of a salesman, think of a typical salesman that's maybe got a bit more of a gift of the gab sort of type thing than actually is the underpinning the foundations of it. They're not very attentive to detail, so you don't want to get these people filling in loads of forms, and they might listen. They might hear what they want to hear rather than necessarily fully listening to other people. And their overriding emotion is one of optimism. Okay, so it's always going to be great. It's always going to be fantastic. That's the kind of stuff. If we come to the doves or the dolphins, very friendly, amiable people. These are on the right-hand side, remember, towards the bottom. So very, very friendly, very relaxed, stable, steady, and in fact the S stands for the steadiness, and their primary motivation here is getting along. They're very good at the team understanding and getting things done as a team. Very dependable team player. That's the real value to the team that they bring. Very service oriented, and they're patient and logical, and they love that stable environment. They don't like lots of change, and they don't like conflict either. So they'll work well to resolve that conflict with people. In terms of tendency under stress, they can be then a bit hesitant, sometimes a bit slow to make a decision because they don't like those fast changes. They can come across as being a bit inflexible two. So if you're, and just think about where you are on a circle versus somebody else. If you're diametrically opposite, then you might perceive some of the limitations and they might perceive some of your limitations more because you see things quite differently. And that's often where conflicts can arise, as well as actually where some of the real benefit can arise because you've got those different characteristics. But yes, they don't necessarily deal with lots of change very well at the same time, lots of different things. And they're generally not very emotional. They're very steady. That's the point. They don't tend to jump to high emotional type responses. And then the owls, these are the ones that love the detail. They love the data. Their overriding motivation is to get things right. Their biggest fear actually is getting things wrong and being seen to get things wrong. So very high standards. They like to have all the facts, very precise. The value to the team is they maintain really high standards, very conscientious, and they can be the one that brings you back down to earth. Helen was just talking about that a little while back. They can be the one, maybe with the dolphin as well, that just says, "Come on a minute, actually, we need to get this sorted first. It's not quite as good as you reckon, Helen. We need to get this done first, or think about it a bit more." The ideal environment is where they've got time and a space on their own, generally, to think critically and actually really do some proper work, if you like, to really do some of that research and analysis and get their facts straight. And the tendency under stress, or how somebody on the opposite side of the circle might see them, they might see them as being a bit pessimistic because they are the ones that are coming up and saying, "Have you thought of this? I'm not sure that will work," because they're the ones that are perhaps being challenged. But that can come across as being a bit picky, or maybe overly critical. Possible limitations is they can be defensive equally. They are personally invested in a way in getting things right, and when things are wrong, or somebody thinks they're wrong, then they can be a bit defensive. They can also appear to be less warm, very much less warm than the monkeys, and that can lead them to appearing to be a bit aloof at some point. So they might come across being a bit aloof, and their biggest emotion is around fear. So they say that fear of getting it wrong. So that's a really quick overview of those styles. As I say, we can share those slides a little bit later, certainly for the members of ScaleUp Club, and then you've got those. But have a think about those, and because of course what we should be thinking is, okay, well, the roles that I got people in. Helen was talking very much about the roles and the kind of things that she's getting people to do. Am I putting them in situations that would be naturally uncomfortable? So have I got an owl and I've suddenly decided I want to put them out and send them networking and meet loads of new people? Well, they might well be able to do it, and they might even do it very well, but it will be stressful for them. It's not their natural, comfortable environment. So they have to do that over a long period of time. That won't be good for them. And equally, you might think of other examples. So it can help us in thinking about the roles that we've got, as well as, and Helen talked about, do we have a gap? Do we have a team that isn't balanced? Have I built a team because I'm a monkey, for example? Have I built a team of monkeys because we have that kind of mirror bars? Now, Helen hasn't, but that is a danger. Sometimes we find that we recruit people like us because that's who we identify with. So that balanced team is really important. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the breakouts. Caroline sorted those out. I think it's 2 rooms we're going to do, isn't it, Caroline? So we'll go into those, and I think Stu and Helen probably going to lead those. Is that right, Caroline? So I know Peter was happy to do it as a reserve, but if we can use Stu and Helen, that would be brilliant. I'd like to do something a little bit different this time in it, as well as if you've got a challenge and you want to get to know each other a little bit, fine as well. But I've got a little challenge. I'd like you as a group to think about those styles. And the reason for, I'd like you to think of the village road sign and how you would design, how the different styles would design a road sign that's kind of at the start of a village, and it's encouraging you to drive carefully through the village. And I was out, haven't got out much like everybody else last 18 months. I was out last week and I went through a village and I saw a road sign a little bit like this. And I thought, I wonder how the different styles would ask people to drive carefully through their village. So that's like you to discuss that within your teams, and I'd like Stu and Helen to be able to feed back at the end when we feed back how you think, maybe 2 road signs each when we come back, but if you do all 4, so how you think the D's would encourage people to drive carefully. How would that differ from how the dolphins would do it, and the monkeys and the other characters, or if we want to use the birds, the cockatoos and the doves? You know, how would they design the road signs differently? And also individually, then, in a little bit of a spotlight, and just watch the time on this, but how have your unique characteristics? You know, where do you think you are? What bird or what animal do you think you are? And how have some of the characteristics that you have that are unique to you, how have they helped you to get to where you are today, but also potentially how have they hindered you? You know, where perhaps have you had to think, actually, you know what, that's caused me a bit of a problem every now and then, and I need to look at that, and to have that kind of discussion. And I think you'll find that will help you to get to know and understand each other in your groups that little bit better than you would have done before. So I think that is essentially it for me. So Caroline, if we could open up those breakout rooms, and we will see you. We'll see you back here, if we can, at 11:45. Sounds like you've had some really good discussions in your group. So what I'd like to do is just spend a couple of minutes now just going to Stu and to Helen, just to sum up from the rooms. But should we do the road sign bit first? I'm itching to hear what road signs, and we'll take it in turns between Helen and Stu, or if actually somebody else from within the groups would like to do it. But let's see. So let's start with the dove or the dolphin, the S steady. So Stu, what did your group come up with for the road sign for them?
Well, we said they'd be very wordy but very caring. So we know you're in a hurry, but we'd really appreciate it if you could slow down. Everyone really benefit from that. And then if you exited the village, there'd be two lovely thank you signs kind of on the road out. So that's kind of what we said. That would be quite wordy but very caring.
Brilliant. That sounds lovely. Just the sort of place I'd love to visit. Maybe Helen. What about you? Would any advance on that one?
Actually similar. Matt is a dolphin, and Matt had, "Welcome to our lovely village. Please drive carefully if that's okay with you."
Perfect. There you go. Yeah. That sounds about right. So I think, yeah, great. So that very good look at that. So let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum, if you like, and let's look at the peregrine or the panther, so the D type. So Helen, do you want to go first this time? What did your group come up with for that road sign?
Yeah, Lizzie was the D one, really. Not everybody had done a disc, and Lizzie was actually torn because she first said stop, slow down, just like that's it, no messing. But then she also decided she'd have enjoy your tranquil journey through our village. So I think Lizzie's got a bit of dolphin or monkey. She did say she was panther going towards monkey.
Right.
So her initial instinct was stop, drive slowly. And then she kind of thought, oh, that's a bit harsh. I'm going to counter it a little bit. So it showed an interesting mix.
All right. Good, but certainly much more direct on the actual D bit. So yes, Stu, what did your group come up with for that one?
Yeah, well, we said there'd be electronic signs to inform people of their speed with just slow down written on it, and there'd be definitely more than one sign. Yes.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Good stuff. So yes, I think it would be much more clear to the point. Might even have if it was a really high D and there was no census on wording, it might be slow the whatever down sort of stuff, mightn't it? It might be very, very blunt.
Yeah,
Peter,
don't forget the machine gun post if they didn't.
Yeah, there you go.
Because the machine gun post.
Yeah,
at the exit to the village.
Because actually, you can imagine them having the consequence. You know, if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen to you. Yeah, brilliant, perfect, very good, like it. Good. What about then? So Stu, what about the owl?
So that's the eyes, yeah?
No, the owl, sorry, is the C. So that's the bottom left.
So we said there would be countdown signs, effectively average speed signs. You know, all through the village going, you're driving at this, you're driving at that, and then, you know, it would all be very sort of, you know, data driven and average and countdown and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, good. Helen, anything to add to that?
Yeah, we haven't got an owl because we didn't have any owls. So nobody, but I've got 2 monkeys instead. So I've got to have 2 monkey signs, but I'm afraid we haven't got an owl one.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so the owls is going to be much more data driven. It might, you might even imagine it might have 29 deaths on this stretch of road in the last whatever. It might be one of those sort of type ones. So yes, definitely going to have the information on there, and of course the owl one might actually not be out yet, because they might still be debating it as whether they got enough data to be able to put that number onto the road sign. So there may be a blank space at the minute, or a flip chart that, to be able to turn it over to say, well, 29 now it's 30 or whatever. Okay, good, brilliant. So okay then, Helen. So you've got two monkey ones.
We've got Miguel, this is a straight road. Put your foot down. Nice bit of optimism. And I don't know who said this, but somebody said, stick your roof down, put 80s punk music on as loud as you possibly can and have fun. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
That was me.
So Al, definitely monkey or cockatoo type characteristics, but I wonder whether that's going to have the desired effect of inspiring people to slow down or not, but drive carefully. But okay, good. Stu, what would your group have come up with?
So we said that they'd be big, they'd be creative, they'd be cool. If you're driving over the speed limit, there'd be a sad face. If you're driving under the speed limit, there'd be a happy face. And a wording would say, for the safety of our community, please consider your speed.
Very good. Yeah. I think that's good. So we're giving the little bit of the inspiration, the reason why it's important. So, I could imagine something like, we can save lives sort of type stuff, a very inspiring message. And quite probably that one might have a little photograph of the council, if it's the councillor that's come up with that message, maybe or the mayor of the village or whatever else, help me save lives, something like that. So they've got their bit of self-promotion in there as well, probably to go with that. But yeah, so we get the picture. So quite a different way of looking at those road signs. So hopefully with that, combined with some of the information earlier, and I know some of you know DISC anyway, then you've got some ways that you can start thinking about with your team. So just very quickly then, key highlights, Stu, from your group, from the conversations.
Yeah, we were talking about kind of being authentic, being being yourselves. We had quite a lot of discussion centered around, can you change your style? And people who have done multiple DISC profiles reflect on their first one and their most recent one, and actually how they've evolved over time as they've grown their business, as they settled into the role of a business. But also, actually, as we were saying, just to people coming back, and actually how your mood can really affect kind of how you interpret the questions and therefore how you answer them as well. So I guess kind of be mindful of that. But we had a lot of discussions about actually how you can, adapt your style over time to kind of suit the environment that you are in.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we definitely can adapt our style, and we all do, which is why we become that blend. And that's where sometimes when we're under those moments of stress, we revert to type, if you like, a little bit more. So some of those extreme characteristics might come out a little bit more when we revert to type. And yes, I do take your point. If there are some significant life circumstances happening, that will influence, I think, the results that we'll get. So yes, if you do it at a particularly sad time of your life or something like that, then it probably will make you answer differently. Okay, good, excellent. Helen, what about you? Key highlights, takeaways from your discussions?
Interestingly, one of my first points was very similar to Stu's, that we can change a little bit and develop certain aspects of our characters. So we also thought that we should be who we are. So we shouldn't try and change ourselves too much. We would be happy as being who we were. And the way to balance that was to have the balance and the counterweights within your team. So if you're really a real pantser and you hate detail, you shouldn't perhaps try and force yourself to take on the data and the detail. When you grow your business, you need to think, I need an owl that takes that bit off me. So it's being aware of what you've got or not got in your team, listening to other people, because if they're the quieter ones that can have something really valuable to say, you need to give them the time and the space to express themselves and listen to what they've got to say. So having counterweights so that you've got this balance. What was a challenge, because in our group of 5, 2 of us have got staff, myself and Matt, and we use DISC a lot and look at it a lot in our teams. The other 3 guys are actually all sole business owners at the moment. So they almost got to try and be all 4 aspects. So that is a whole other challenge on itself if it is just you.
Yeah.
But then you can bring in outsourced people and support people to maybe take those little bits off you that you hate.
Yeah.
Which is usually bookkeeping, weirdly, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think lots of good points in there. You know, the key really is recognizing it. You know, I think you're right. We shouldn't try and just become Mr. Average or Mrs. Average and you know, be a bland mix of everything. We do want to keep our styles and the good things about it, but if we recognize sometimes when that might be overplayed, that's good. But as you say, where we might have gaps and we might actually need somebody to do that. So when we're building a team, it is great to start thinking about, you know, have we got that mix going, or are we all in danger of we don't have any owls, for example, so maybe we're all not going to really be thinking too much about the details, so maybe we do need somebody that's going to recognize that and challenge us. Good. Lots of great stuff. There's loads more. You know, we could all talk for hours, I'm quite sure, on personality profiling, but you know, the point that we want to get across is the importance of understanding ourselves and our team members, but also ideally that our team members understand each other as well, and that's the way that we can start then to really build that trust, get really good culture going within the business, and build from that. It is the starting point, really. If you don't have that, then everything else is built on a little bit of sand in that you don't really have that strong sense of understanding of each other's motivations, priorities, and equally building then that trust, that real trust where we can open up to each other. So hopefully some really good things that you can take away. 1 or 2 things just to remind you of as we close then. So the next ScaleUp Club session is on November the 2nd. Should already be in your diary as you register for this one, and you will have registered in advance. The theme on that one is around the cash theme. So we're going to come away from people and come into cash and look around something called the distortion-free profit and loss, P&L. Essentially, we'll talk about why you need 2 sets of books, pretty much. So that would be a slightly different focus. We do have our next 90-day planning workshop. Helen was talking about making sure that identified priorities moving forwards for 90 days. So that our next workshop is on January the 7th. That might seem a long way away now, but it's literally 3 months away, so it's not too far. And we've got some space on a funded program for the business advisory program. If any of you here, assuming that you're based in Worcestershire, I think you are, would like an hour of our time, somebody from Bismarck's time, to look at a particular challenge, issue, whatever you got, or you just want a bit of support, then let us know. Just maybe send an email to Caroline and or put it in the chat if you want to do that right now, and we can arrange an hour that will not cost you anything, and we can use that pretty much in any way that you like to help you with your business. So. Also, Caroline, I think, is putting into the chat, if not done already, the SurveyMonkey link. So if you would click on that, please, that would be fantastic. And just give us your feedback from today, as always, so that we can make sure that we are improving. And I'd just like to close really by a couple of thank yous. So a thank you to particularly to Stu and to Helen for their excellent presentations earlier and for facilitating those groups. So thank you very much. You put some time and effort into presentations, and it's not easy facilitating those groups as well. A little bit of extra pressure, but thank you very much for doing that so well. And of course, thank you to Caroline and to Jack for helping me in the background with getting it all organised and running it. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic month if we don't see you beforehand. And hopefully we will see you on November the 2nd.
Take care, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.